Right now, Sony Spider-Man universe movies, the ones that don't actually feature Spider-Man in them at all, they're not doing very well. As you know, Kraven the Hunter opened very poorly at the box office this weekend. So bad so that Mary is laughing right now. But it opened under the box office from Madam Web. And that's on top of the fact that Morbius was so bad that it got memed into a re-release only to realize that nobody actually wanted it. The only mildly successful films in this franchise, of course, have been the Venom movies. Mary is still laughing.
I'm dying.
Mary is still laughing. The Venom films have done reasonably well, totaling about $1.8 million in revenue since the third film has come out, though the third one opened to the worst box office out of any of them. But here's the problem. It seems like Sony might have fallen on hard times because as the sole owners of the Spider-Man movie license, they are considering selling those rights back to Marvel.
Thank you for the crisis party. Sorry about dying in
That's
the corner.
okay. That's okay.
We didn't plan on that.
Hold on, guys.
We have a 20 from David Dorr. I had a massive crush on Punky Brewster as a kid.
So, okay.
Who's that?
Character. If you don't know, so Marvel owns the right to Spider-Man merchandise. That's the cash cow. Okay, Spider-Man merchandise makes insane money for Marvel. Still very profitable. They own the rights to Spider-Man, I believe, in television form, and they own the rights to Spider-Man in the comics, of course. Sony has the rights to Spider-Man the character in movies because back in the day, before the age of Iron Man, when Marvel started really succeeding, they had to sell off the rights to a lot of those characters, i.e. why Fox got the X-Men, why Fantastic Four was gone from them, and then they reacquired all of those characters later. But Spider-Man is too beneficial for a company to give away those rights. So this is from Screen Geek, and it says, the Spider-Man franchise is once again a major topic of conversation with the release of Kraven the Hunter in theaters. The long-awaited Spider-Man spin-off revolves around the titular character from Marvel's library of comics, with the mixture to negative reactions to the film. That's putting it mildly. None of the critics seem to like this movie. Sony acquired the rights long before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was established over the last decade. However, Sony has been collaborating with Marvel to make Spider-Man part of the MCU. So what happened was the first two Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, meaning Homecoming and Far From Home, were both 100% produced by Sony. So they were, let me see if I still have that information here. They were 100% produced by Sony. And Sony received all of the box office for those movies. Marvel's role was handling production, creative direction, and integration of Spider-Man into the MCU so that they could start using him for the Avengers movies afterwards. Because he first appeared in Captain America Civil War. And Marvel received a small percentage, 5% of the first dollar gross, meaning 5% of the revenue from the first day of release. That's all Marvel got from them. But what they did is they renegotiated that contract in 2019, right around the time that Endgame was coming out, and they were started to do the production for No Way Home. And what it was redone as is cost sharing. So now it was co-financed by both companies, not just solely through Sony. 25% of the production costs were done by Disney Marvel. In exchange, Disney received 25% of the box office profits. The big kick there is that by the time Marvel got on board, more heavily involved in the franchise, that was when they nearly hit $2 billion at the box office for No Way Home. So they scored big time there. And let's face it, there is a lot of apathy going on right now for anything to do with the Sony movies.
What? You mean
Kraven, Morbius,
Madam Web? You said that if Kraven came out before Madam Web, that maybe it would have done better.
I do believe so.
But because of Madam Web being a laughable failure,
yeah,
there's not enough goodwill for people to come back to theaters for it.
I think it's kind of the sum total of all of the apathy. So the first Venom movie did well, and I thought it was good. I thought the first one was good, certainly better than the second one. And it had, and then I believe the second one actually did better than the first one. But now the third one that just came out is the worst performing so far out of all three. And then anything other than Venom has been a wash.
Well, I appreciate you kindly mansplaining all of that.
I apologize.
Industry baseball for me. I genuinely needed the explanation, but this is incredibly unlikely to be true. This does not originate from Screen Geek. This originates from a user who goes by anonymous screen name My Time to Shine. Hello, you might have heard of this scooper before on the show, but he was the one who started this rumor, and they were like, source, and he's like, I am the source.
But
so that got community noted to hell. It's probably not true.
And
it would be a bad decision on Sony's part anyway, so it makes no sense. Why would they do this?
But this is the other reason that it came up, because we talked about this the other day. According to this, now this is from a Variety article from the other day. According to one source, the deal with Disney never precluded Sony from making their own Spider-Man movies. So like they could have included Spider-Man in all of those Sony movies, where the whole problem is that Spider-Man's not in your movies about Spider-Man villains. And they said that people would just not accept that he crosses universes away from the MCU into a different universe. But that doesn't make sense either, because they tried really hard on multiple occasions to like explain how Vulture shows up in a post-credit scene. And they're like, how did he get here? He was over in the MCU. Why is he over here now in a Morbius post-credit scene? So they tried. They're just incompetent at tying it all together.
Do you mean they had the option of choosing a different actor to play Spider-Man in their movies?
No. They could have used Tom Holland.
Or using Tom Holland.
They could have used Tom Holland. And they're saying that they just chose not to.
Would he have done that?
I mean, I guess it would have mattered about the amount of money then. It's possible that he might have been like, look, this ruins the shine that this character is getting right now from all of the benefit by working in the MCU, because when he hopped on board when Civil War came out, they were riding high going into like Infinity War. So it was like a very, very good time to be involved in a Marvel in a Marvel franchise. It's not like he got involved after Endgame and Eternals is out and he's like, oh, what am I doing here? Maybe I should just go back to Sony. It's not like that.
But they are still working on a Spider-Man 4 with him.
Yeah, they are. So they're doing Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland. I believe that it goes into production next year. It'll come out in 2026. And they're also doing...
Is Zendaya in that?
I don't know if she... I mean, I'm assuming she will be in it. I'm assuming they would bring back Zendaya and the rest of the cast. But they're also doing the Spider-Man Noir live action, which is based on the Across the Spider-Verse character, the Miles Morales Spider-Verse alt character, played by Nicolas Cage. It's being done over at Amazon. I just laugh because these types of rumors, it's not far-fetched depending on how far in debt the studio is, but Sony is a reasonably is a pretty successful studio. I just laughed because I was like, what if DC lost Batman? Because Marvel is to Disney what DC is to Warner Brothers. And right now, Warner Brothers is talking about all of this corporate restructuring around like CNN is going to become a part of Discovery. Like, who cares? Like, what does that matter? But David Zaslav is like trying to do all this corporate restructuring. I'm like, what if they were in bad enough straits that they had to just get rid of the likes of, say, a Batman or the Joker?
Is that likely to happen?
No, I don't think that would ever. Batman is their single biggest draw in all. Batman is to DC what Spider-Man is to Marvel.
What is Superman then to DC?
Superman is just he's important, but he is not the same level as a Batman.
He's just not as cool.
He's not as cool. Yeah. Look, I'm excited for the new Spider-Man or the new Superman movie, and I'll tell you why. First of all, they released the picture yesterday of Spider-Man like rocketing to the freaking sun with the John Williams score over it, but that's not even why I'm kind of excited about it. I'm excited about it because James Gunn seems to be the one bastion of like competent filmmaking, meaning like he's not doing extensive reshoots. He's doing like, it's all kind of on schedule. The trailer's coming out about the time they said it was going to. He's like, this is a revolutionary idea. He's like, I'm not going to start filming a movie until the script is done. And as crazy as that sounds, that's something they do in Hollywood. They just start making a movie without the script being done. If all I have to choose from now is a guy he's at the very least smart enough to be like, I'm not going to start making the movie until I know what the movie is, then I'll go for it. And on top of that, I like the tagline. I like Look Up because that's a reference like, look up, it's a bird, it's a plane. I like it. I love it. Superman isn't my favorite character. I asked the chat, like my Twitter yesterday. I was like, what is everyone's vibe on this? And it was pretty split between people feeling either that, I don't care. Some people are like, look, I don't care about Superman stories for kids. Other people
for
were like,
kids.
Yeah.
It's not explicitly for kids.
I mean, the hopeful tone, I think that some people believe that to be for adults, it has to be dark and brooding, which is not true.
It's kind of obnoxious.
But, I'll take that type of, if what we're dealing with right now is all of this massive corporate back and forth problems that are going on between these companies just to get really mediocre movies made, I'll take one guy in charge trying to make his one movie and seeming to do it on process.
We have also seen DC's latest attempt at dark and brooding, and it was Joker 2, and no one liked that. So maybe more hopeful tone would be refreshing.
I did see some people saying that they were talking about bringing Robert Pattinson's Batman into the DCU. I think that would be a gigantic mistake.
Into this new Superman movie, you mean?
No, not to that movie, but to the world that's being built around there. Right now, the DCU, which is going to involve the David Cornsweet Superman, is going to have a very different tone than the movies that are being made by Matt Reeves.
They are making a second
The
Batman.
Yeah.
Which I'm not excited to see.
But tonally, it would be like getting hit in the face to go from what
they wanted
Superman
actually was for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker to be included in the Batman sequel. That's what they wanted, but we aren't going to see him again.
I don't think that Sony would ever sell it back to them, but it is an interesting thing to consider, given that all of the money and stuff that goes back and forth. It's kind of hard to figure out where one company ends and another one begins. But
Dakota Johnson is going to be in the next Avengers
That's what
movie.
we need. That's what we need.
She will make it what it is. She notoriously didn't know the difference between Sony and Marvel.
I actually like
when she signed on for Madam Web.
I like those actors who just admit they're like, look, I have a mortgage and they were paying me a lot of money. I don't want somebody to lie to me and be like, oh, I love comic books. Because I don't really it's not really your job to like comic books. It's your job to be faithful to the material that you're given. Mm-hmm. And the hope then is that the director and the writers are doing their jobs and they at least represent the source material properly. Mm. It helps if an actor cares about the source material, like Henry Cavill, who can then advocate on behalf of the character for The Witcher, for Geralt, or advocate on behalf of the fans who want that stuff to do well. But I don't really need the actor to pretend to like that stuff. It's actually funny to me when they're like, yeah, I had a mortgage to pay.
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney doesn't need to tell us that she grew up reading comic books.
Because nobody would believe her anyways.
Yeah.
Nobody would believe her anyways.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd much prefer her making self-aware jokes like, you definitely did not see me in Madam Web on SNL. That was just refreshingly honest, in my opinion.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.